Uh-oh, that one stopped working. I gotta restart that. All right, properties. Okay, there we go. Oh, okay. It seems like blurry. Hmm. Hey guys. Give me just a second here, guys. As I said earlier, that I'm doing like kind of an experimental thing. Oh, actually, I gotta up the exposure too. There we go. And 5. And go to that. Oh, we already got some people in there. Cool, 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 cool. All right. What's up, guys? What's up, Grumpy and Jonah? All right, give me a second. Let me pop that out. Pop, 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 pop. All right. Oh, it automatically captured it this time. I don't understand. Like sometimes OBS does that and sometimes it doesn't. It really doesn't make any sense. Good luck on the drawing. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's kind of my first time ever doing this. So thank you for the good luck. I guess we can make this bigger. That's fine like that. What's up, Nuno? Well, it looks too blurry though. That's the problem I'm seeing right now. I gotta see. Okay, I can change the properties on it though. Properties. Let's see what I can do. Configure video. Hit default. Okay. Okay. That still looks blurry. Oh, there we go. All right. Oh, now I know. Okay, good. Oh, right. I fixed it. Wow. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. All right. What was that belong for? The BSK V3 Battery Pro is dying. That's my mouse. All right. So we're going to have to go ahead and charge my mouse while I'm doing this. That's okay. Don't need to use a mouse to draw. Whoops. I got some pens and stuff and just a regular pencil. Oh, I did forget an eraser though, didn't I? Well, guess I can't make any mistakes then. Striker, you're currently cooking. Cool, man. Let me switch over to. There we go. Okay, now I've got chat right here, so I can look down at you as I do this scuff stream. Yeah, it's definitely scuffed. No pressure. Nah, I don't feel any pressure. I'm good. I do need to. I need to look up some kind of reference. Okay, so the first thing I'm trying to draw. Well, actually, you know what? This is the first drawing of the day, so this should really be. This should really just be my warm up. But I'm gonna just try and draw whatever. Lantern worm images. Let's see how this goes. I'm trying to draw a worm that is a giant worm, and that giant worm has a head that is like a lantern, because it's called the lantern worm. And this is for like my whole RPG world, which I finally decided on the name of. Maybe people will hate it, but I finally decided on the name of my RPG world is Abaddonic Realm of Descent. The Abaddonic Realm of Descent. Maybe too long of a name. Maybe people hate that. But I like it, and if I like it, that's all that matters. All right, let's see here. How are you guys doing today, though? That's what I really want to know. It's kind of a cool looking worm. Hmm. I'm trying to find like a reference. Like I want to find like an anatomical worm that has like segments and stuff like that. Or like a cave worm. Because pretty much how this worm works is its head is like bioluminescent. Um, it pretty much hangs from like stalactites and stalagmites in caves, and then it mostly feeds on like some of the wildlife inside of caves, like mort flies and I forget what other kind of insects, giant insects, live inside of the caves and the area called the undergrot. The undergrot is like this giant cavern system that goes underneath every single continent and the whole world my RPG takes place in called Drathorn. So I guess you're getting a lot of lore at the same time while you're listening to this. And if you're wondering like, why are you trying to do this right now? Well, actually, um, I got a RPG coming up tomorrow. Holy shit, that's tomorrow. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yikes. Um, but yeah, we're gonna have our first RPG tomorrow. Um, with a couple people. I think they said it's okay if I live stream it, so I am gonna live stream it. Um, who do we have joining for tomorrow? So like a giant glowworm. Yeah, exactly, Jonah. The way it works though, it feeds in a kind of different way. It has like a pretty much like a I don't know what you'd call it. I don't know worm anatomy lexicon. So it's got like a sort of like fleshy helmet that opens and closes like this. And that actually is what guards the giant luminescence on its head. That is the actual like lantern type thing. Although it's really kind of bulbous, it doesn't look like a lantern. And it waits till a prey comes really close, and then it opens it up and turns its bioluminescence as high as it can, and that blinds the prey because it's usually obviously a super dark environment. And once that prey is like kind of like, oh, I can't see anything. It has like mandibles that open up and like a proboscis that shoots sort of like a sticky material, and that's how it easily feeds upon um, whatever its prey is. And also, yeah, it's like a internal feeder too. So it like sticks the proboscis in, sucks the person inside out, and leaves them like little more than a husk of skin. But mostly it just feeds on. It's not like going after living sentient entities. It's mostly feeding off of things like mort flies, which are like giant cave moths. Um, oh, and web maggots. That's the other kind of creature that's very popular in the cave expanse known as the undergrot. Um, so yes. Okay. Cave worm illustration. I don't know. I'm just looking for some kind of reference. Hmm. And it doesn't have like eyes and stuff like that. It doesn't need eyes because um, it would affect itself with its own bright burst of light. So why would it need eyes? Although I need to ask again, what are you guys up to right now? I'm just checking out what you guys are up to. So, placiderm skeleton. I am looking that up right now. Placiderm skeleton. Oh, is that kind of like a trilobite or whatever they call those things? Nice. What does that sound outside? Is it a dog? Weird, like kind of whimpering or something I just heard from outside. Very strange. It's a fish. This is a type of fish. It's a wild looking fish, man. I like it. I like the skeleton. The skeleton's great. What a wild skeleton. Actually, you know what? I'm kind of inspired by this thing. Photos. That's an incredible looking. Oh, is this the one where like the little worm lives on its tongue? That is wild. I love it. All right. Hmm. Ooh, that's kind of good. Hmm. I actually have a reference of my own drawing. I drew one a while back. I should bring that out and maybe look at it. But I'd also kind of like to expand as far as like my creativity and see if I can just do a new one from scratch. Of course, I'm looking at references. Any artist who tells you they don't look at references is lying. We all look at references. Ooh, I'm starting to find some good ones here. Okay. All right, all right, all right. Oh man, these are cool. All right. I think I found something decent. All right. I sent a pic to your Discord. Oh, okay, there we go. I'll check it out, bud. I'm going now. Yep. Yeah, dude, I've seen this one before. This one, like, sometimes they open up their mouth and their tongue has been eaten by, aren't they called trilobites? Um, I could be wrong on that, but there's like, it looks like a kind of like a roly-poly almost, but like a giant version that's eaten their tongue. What is this wish list link thing at the bottom of the stream? Ah, it's just for improving my stream. Um, I have it kind of blocked right now. It's just equipment that, ah, it's just for equipment that I'm eventually going to slowly gather to improve the stream, but it's not there for any kind of obligation or anything like that. Of course, um, any donation to improving the stream, as far as equipment is concerned, would be highly um, loved. I don't know what to say, but yeah, that's what I got it there for. I think almost everything on there. There is some weird stuff, but people be like, "Why this?" Like it's like cosplay things. It's actually characters that people have asked me to dress up as on stream, but like I don't really cosplay. Um, what was one of them's from Jujutsu Kaisen, and someone said, "Oh, you have the same." Oh, and the other one was like the guy from Chainsaw Man who's got like the same sort of like man bun type of thing in the back, and that's just for like sometimes people dress up for cosplay for donations and stuff. Oh, who are you thinking about? Which is Kim Jong-gi never used references or perspective. Maybe only when you wanted him to draw something he had never seen. That's what I mean. Yeah, something you've never seen. I mean, dude, trust me, there's tons of stuff I can draw without a reference. Um, but like when it comes to uh, anatomy, that's usually where I use a reference. I mean, think of an animal that you rarely see. Like I could draw a crocodile with like zero reference. I could draw a crocodile just off the top of my head because I've seen alligator, sorry. Because I've seen alligators like my whole, life in Florida. But if someone were to be like, hey, could you draw, I don't know, a duckbill platypus, right? I definitely need to look up like an anatomical, I don't completely remember. I know it looks kind of like a beaver and kind of like a duck and kind of like a possum smashed together, but I don't know like how its legs in the back kind of like articulate. So, it's a lot of articulation. Like probably maybe this sounds pathetic, but every single time I have to draw a horse, I always have to look up the anatomy of the back legs because I feel like it's so easy to mess up the musculature of a horse. Get a cat onesie. Okay. Hey, I'll add that to the list. Um, I'll add that. Okay. Uh, actually, you know what we need to do? We should start a Discord room for like stream suggestions, like how I should, and then we could add like the cos because I've had people say like I'll pay for it if you wear it on there, and I'm just like, oh, I don't even know what that looks like. I need to go look up what character you're even talking about. Like I knew the one guy from Chainsaw Man who has this like I don't remember his name. I'm bad at remembering like character names and stuff like that. Um, but I knew which character they were talking about because I'd watched all of season one. Oh, you can still donate to the GoFundMe, Dre. It'll still work. I mean, trust me, I'm more than happy to do that. I've still got one window I need to have fixed on my shed that's busted out. Um, so I mean, I'd be more than happy to do that, man. Um, anyway, um, who's the guy who never looked up? He never looked up references. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff like especially if I'm drawing like my own original character, I don't need to like look up how to like draw a humanoid figure, right? Like there's stuff we all specialize in, but every artist has like a knowledge gap, right? Like if I were to ask another artist to draw a giraffe, right? Not a lot of us go around drawing a bunch of giraffes. You'd probably have to look up the reference of a giraffe. Or like think how many times kids ask me to draw characters. They're like, "Can you draw this Pokemon?" And I'm like, "I have no damn clue which that even looks like." Right? So you got to look up a reference for that. I think that's pretty typical of them. Yeah, dude, any help is welcome, man. Thank you so much if you do consider that, man. I really appreciate it. You've already done so much. Kim Jong-gi. Okay, Kim Jong-gi. All right, I'll have to check him out later, man. That sounds awesome. I mean, there are some artists who have like an insane encyclopedical like knowledge. But I remember when I would ask, professional artists when I was still like a little kid and we didn't even have internet, they said they would keep files upon files of magazine clippings from National Geographic when asked to draw different stuff. Because I said to them, I'm like, I don't remember how to draw like things like a dog or how to draw things like a horse and stuff because I get the legs wrong. And they'd be like, don't worry, every artist needs to keep like an anatomy folder and stuff like that. We have to go back and look. I mean, actually, I could probably draw a dog from without a reference, but there's so many animals that have like very unique musculature that you really need to get that right or it doesn't look like the animal. Like, I mean, that's incredibly important. Anyway, I need to shut up and draw. No making excuses, unrested. All right. I need to probably do something too um, about um, the lighting. I can tell the lighting's going to be a problem. Right now, I um, I can see okay, but I can tell as it gets darker in here, even just having my lights overhead are not going to be enough. So I'll have to figure something like that out. I knew that would probably come into be an issue later. And yes, if you're wondering what this is for, this is actually for me slowly building up my own sort of monster manual for the whole RPG world that I've been working with in my head for many, many, many decades. Well, at least one decade, going on a second decade. So this is how I always start off first. I just start off with like swooping around with organic shapes. It's a good way to warm up your hand too, I feel like. I need to get chat back up on here. Yeah, got to start off the basic shapes in life. Oh, actually, guys, first of all, I want to shout out for Jason right here who just logged on. He's got himself a channel that's covering some Japan stuff right now. He's got one of his first videos out called Peko, or History of Peko, or I don't know the exact title. Sorry, I've messed it up already. You guys definitely need to go check it out. He does the history of one of Japan's very old and very well-known candy-based mascots, Peko-chan, and he gives a full history of it. It's like ultra interesting. I learned a bunch. I didn't know anything about the past history of Peko, so it's a character that's been around forever. Now that I'm thinking about it, is Peko the girlfriend of Gotti Gotti-kun? Is it? Oh, who's the girl who's opposite Gotti Gotti-kun? All right, sorry. All right, sorry. I just asked my son. I was just thinking about it though, but like Peko-chan looks a lot like Gotti Gotti-kun. I didn't realize that till I was just thinking about like you talk about how there's like a boy version of Peko Peko in the video. I can't remember his name. Oh, that's her brother? Whoops. I obviously didn't pay close enough attention. All right, but go check out his channel. Just click right on his name there, and you'll see he's got some decent stuff. He's getting himself started in the whole video creation, and it's like already professional looking stuff. I'm actually kind of shocked at how good your sound and editing is from your first video. There's a lot of people who ask me to go take a look at their stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right. They're, it's first video, so they got a while to go, but good start. But with yours, I was like, oh, damn, this guy's already got like professional level stuff out here. I feel like that's more and more common now, like with the younger generations. They don't start like us old boomers do, where we had like the world's worst mic and world's worst camera and like didn't know how to edit anything and looked like it was the first time we had ever stood in front of a camera. All right. I've got kind of a shoddy table here. It's kind of garbage for doing this. I didn't really think too much about how to do this. 1, 2, 25. What? Oh, Mary. Oh. I guess my mom. Did you get a message? What happened, Maki? Okay. I just got a message from Verizon. I guess Nana went to Verizon today. All right. Now, the harder part to think about is the sort of bulb shape. See how I can slowly develop that. All right. I've been thinking about making a YouTube something as well. I feel like it would be a ton of work. It's not, I mean, it depends on how deep you want to get into it. So for example, something you see Jason do there, that was probably actually a pretty decent amount of editing. But just do stupid stuff like I do, where I just sit in front of a camera, do one take and turn it off. That's what you, but I'll tell you the same thing I told Jason, just make sure it's something you're passionate about. Otherwise you're going to burn yourself up. Yeah, the internet is your best tool, really. You can basically be self-taught from anything nowadays. That's how I picked up most of my, yeah, I mean, you did excellent, dude. What are you using, by the way? Are you using CapCut or what? I never asked. I should have asked what you're using. My biggest mistake I make is I always like pick up like another microphone and I'm like, oh, I'll just set it to the same settings as my old microphone and then nothing works. Or it sounds like awful and I've recorded like the whole video already. All right. Right. I'm trying to think of like how I should go for the segmented body. Um, hmm. Let's see. Hmm. Still trying to figure out how to do like the claws on the face. Let's see here. Yeah, something like one take. Ain't nobody got time to be editing. Yeah, I hear you. Um, Adobe Creative Suite. Oh, okay. Photoshop, Illustrator, and Premiere. Whoa, you got the expensive stuff. Ugh, I kind of gave up on the Adobe Suite because I don't like to pay the subscription. Ugh. All right. Dang, I need some like music or something though, dude. Um, it's too dead silent. Um, shoot. I just realized I haven't been charging my mouse the whole time. Great job, Scott. Whoa, the hell? We're the new host of Extreme. Dude, my Amazon Echo, I somehow bumped that and started playing some stupid advertisement. I've been doing more short form content recently, but I'm planning to pivot back to long form again. Yeah, short form is really. Hmm. Short form's fun. Like, I kind of like it. I don't know, but I always feel kind of limited. Like, I feel like I can't talk long enough. I guess because I'm kind of a talker. Creative works fine for me. Plus, got animation modes and it's free. I use Procreate mostly. That's what I like to use. It costs a little bit. It's like $12, but you can do animation and everything else on it. Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, it's fine, Jason, if you pay for it. You should just use whatever software you're happiest with using. I mean, I still use like CapCut, or I switch between that, and sometimes I still do iMovies, if you can believe it, or Final Cut too. And just because I know the software really well, where I can go like super fast with it, and that's the only reason, just out of convenience. I know there's much better stuff out there, and I could probably learn it, but I'm lazy. I don't know if I like that top one. I do need to go get an eraser. I'm gonna probably cut up and break up as I'm moving around. Just so you know, it's just the Bluetooth headphones. It's just how they work. Let's see, eraser. Where did I put it? Ah, there it is. Okay. All right. I don't really like this top claw. Taking my time with doing these. Oh, let's see. Or maybe I'll go for like a whole. No, maybe I'll do something a little different because it's got to be like where it opens up to show the light. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna have to go all the way around. I want to almost make it like a hand type thing that opens and closes. Kind of like that. Yeah, I kind of actually really like that. Okay. One thing I always like to do is I'll do like a really a light outline of just like something that I'm kind of like not sure if that's gonna work, and I'll start to see shapes in it where I'm like, oh, these shapes work, and then I come back in and do those shapes even heavier. Take a risk though. It's always good to take a risk. All right, there we go. And I've got to somehow put mandibles on the side as well. Where could I put those? I kind of want to get some little like, what do they call those little like things amoebas have, like flagella or something like that? All right. Yeah, that's coming out okay. All right. It's coming a little bit too heavy right there. With like serpent or serpentine or like, kind of wormy based things, you always have to have this certain amount of tapering going on with every single aspect of the body because everything tapers off. It's always such a fine line. All right, what are we talking about right now? Have you seen worms from the families Serpulidae or Terribilidae? It's full of cool stuff for reference. All right, I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds awesome. Uh, once my mouse is done charging, I can start to click around and do that. All right, let's see what we got here. Trying to balance it on the top and the bottom. All right, and then somehow I gotta fit the mandibles in there, some kind of, trying to think of how I can do that. Maybe I just don't. Uh, and if I find something that I've written just doesn't work, I'll go back and just rewrite it and be like, okay, it doesn't have that as part of its anatomy. All right. That's not too bad. I'm starting to see its shape. All right. And probably you guys know this already if you've seen any of my art. I'm big on just like an insane amount of detail. Like I always want to have too much detail. Um, and my reason for that is if I've made a mistake, if you put too much detail in there, there's so much detail that your eye can't focus on the mistake. It just keeps focusing on all the detail. It's my little trick. That only works so well though. You make a big enough or enough amount of mistakes and people can still catch it, of course. Like that one. Running into those tapering problems. The cool thing with bugs or like animals or stuff like that, you can kind of go with a little bit of like grimy, sort of gritty, like measurements and stuff like that. Because animals out in the wild, they don't have a lot of symmetry going on. They tend to get like really banged up um, and like screwed up just from living in, the harshness of nature. I think sometimes some artists illustrating forget that or haven't seen enough animals in the wild where they try to make them look like they're like some sort of zoo animal or like caged pet where they've been groomed and kept all pretty and nice. But nature's like brutal on like animals, man. There are all kinds of scars and like, hair that's out of places, mange, all kinds of stuff like that. I think it's important to kind of show that stuff to make sure we're looking at a natural environment and how it's affected, whatever the creature is. Those are the kind of details I really like to add. What is that sound? Sounds like somebody knocking or something. Oh, that was you? Oh, 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 oh. All right. Uh, very reassuring that doing this whole YouTube thing is worth it. Oh, yeah, I would definitely say it's worth it. Yeah, I mean, my biggest advice to everybody is like, oh, why am I so blown out on the brightness? I am using the camera I'm using right now is the proprietary laptop one. The thing that sucks, what you can't do, you can't have two webcams hooked up to one computer unless you have a second video card inside the computer. All right, I'm gonna try and fix this. All right, let me just see if this thing's ready. Oh, right, I gotta cut back to Bluetooth. I'd always say it's worth it. There's a bunch of benefits to it. Um, First of all, yeah, I definitely had like the brightness turned up way too much. First of all, making YouTube videos is like one of the best things you can do for developing confidence in speech. Um, it's improved my teaching skills like tenfold. Um, it's improved like my speech, my patterns of speech, the pauses and everything I take. Learning how to juggle thoughts in your mind while also publicly speaking. Um, technically, it's helped me learn more about computers. I'm not the brightest computer guy. It's helped me learn about audio, visual, video, um, ambient, all different types of um, skills around that, editing, stuff like that. And no matter how my YouTube situation would have ever gone, even if I had never gotten, more than a couple hundred subs, I would definitely still say it was worth learning all this stuff to begin with. It's a real um, multiverse tool as far as the skill pack it comes with. I think, you know, I I have a lot of students. The thing that scares me about YouTube is I have a lot of students who say like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And they're like, "I want to be a professional YouTuber." And I'm just like, "Oh no." Like if you look at the actual percentage of YouTubers who make it to like 1 million subs, it's like very, very small. Um, and I feel like you should, if you do eventually end up making enough to like live off of YouTube, you shouldn't do that until you're making an abundant amount of money, until you're making like so much that you could accumulate a savings that would create an interest rate that you could live off of post YouTube job. Um, but I'd always say keep like a main job and have YouTube as like your side job no matter what, no matter how much you're making from it. Um, you know, no matter what we cover on YouTube, it'll eventually become stale or old or just like, you're eventually, no matter how popular you get, you're going to go through like a downhill part of your YouTube presence. And I think, I mean, I could be wrong about this. I don't have any like statistical proof or like, facts to back this up. I just feel like once a channel's been around for a very long time, it gets harder and harder to keep yourself in the algorithm. Um, so, and I think that's not anybody's fault. That's just kind of like YouTube making sure they always have like new stuff for people to watch, and always want to give a new channel a new chance. So you got to keep, that algorithm sort of like revolving. Um, so I understand why that happens with the algorithm. It just, you know, and then of course your content, your quality, your technology, your skills, all of that has to keep changing. And if you don't keep up with it, then you just get left behind. I mean, quite frankly, I never really updated mine. I'm still doing the same thing I did 15 years ago. And while it's comfy for me, it definitely completely made my growth sedentary. And you know, people who try to blame YouTube for that. There was a time even where I tried to do that. I tried to be like, well, I don't know why people don't subscribe to me anymore. I don't know why I'm losing viewers and it's just like, well, um, you're not staying up with the times. You're not like tangential to the changing times of YouTube's very fickle and constantly evolving viewer base, generational base, like, all kinds of stuff like that. And if you want to do that, it's very possible, but you need to like really get into analytics and view counting and like checking watch times, checking when people click off, everything like that. You need to get really analytical with that, and that's really a numbers game. And being an artist myself, I've never been like great with numbers, and I never took the time, I never took the effort to like really monitor stuff like that. But that's another thing I'd really advise anybody. Like, if you're super serious about making it a career, you got to be like a analytics person. You can't just ignore that part of your, YouTube studio. Don't become like me where you become stagnant or too comfortable with your style and you don't evolve. And don't ever take a long sabbatical like I did. Um, having taking 2 years off of your channel will murder your channel. I think that's what really robbed myself, how I really robbed myself of like being um, any sort of part of the algorithm. Like, because I disappeared for 2 years and didn't make a single video for 2 years, that pretty much completely kicks you out of anything algorithm based. It actually turns off your AdSense, um, and you have to appeal to get it back on. It just screws everything up. And it's fine. I never made enough to ever make YouTube like a career, and I never had any kind of thought that I ever would. I think my wife would have killed me if I had told her I'm going to be a full-time YouTuber. Um, I think by that time too, I had kids and stuff, so I wouldn't recommend, like, if you're feeding a whole family and you're like, guys, this is when I'm really going to make my bust out move. Now, if you're a single guy, which I'm guessing that's what your situation is. Oh, Aaron, what's up? I think that's totally fine. I don't see any problem with that, but I'd never try to feed a family on a brand new YouTube channel. That would be um, a recipe for starvation. Um, hold on, oh, I see what I got going on here. I got this stuck over here. Um, but again, like I said, you should really, especially when you're just starting YouTube, you should really just treat it as a passion project and not as like a source of income. If you love what you do and you enjoy it, first of all, that's the really healthy way to approach YouTube. If people love what you do and they enjoy it, then you've got a win-win situation, and you should definitely continue to evolve that craft. Um, back when I started, you couldn't even get paid. There wasn't even and they eventually came out with a partner program about 2 years into me making videos, and you actually had to apply like multiple times. Like, I got rejected the first time, and you couldn't apply until I think you had 1,000 subscribers. Um, lucky for me, I got a boost from Give Me a Break Man. He gave me my first shout out, and that's how I was able to eventually get to 1,000 subscribers. Um, but I knew multiple people, I mean, really good channels, way better than mine, who got rejected on their first application for partner program. But now it's just like you hit these exact stats and then you're partnered. Um, I really need to get to work on my Osidoshi channel because it's not partnered yet. And for me, again, it's not about the money. You're probably like, why you care about that so much if you're not worried about the money? Here's the thing. If you don't have monetization turned on, you're way less likely to be in the algorithm, which makes sense if you think about it. Like, right? Why would YouTube waste their time trying to push videos they can't make money off of, right? So that's why I'm looking for monetization on my Osadoshi channel. All right. So now I'm starting to get into the groove. Now I can kind of already see like where this is headed. At which point, like I usually don't have to look at references too much anymore, and I kind of just let my mind and my hand uh, do the sort of creativity from there. Like you'll start to reach, and I'm sure Jason can um, back this up. Is like you reach this sort of zen where you're just like, I know where this is going. I'm just gonna keep letting it happen, and that's how the picture just kind of evolves. Have multiple streams of income is key if you are working for yourself. Yeah, yeah, Jason, you're totally right about that. Yeah, I mean that was one thing. Like especially like when I started my school, I knew other people whose schools had failed before mine, and one big thing they did that I thought was kind of silly is they limited. They're like, I'll never teach kids. I'll never teach adults. I'll never teach middle schoolers. And it's like, why? Why would you turn away a certain customer? Um, I don't know. I don't get it. Um, I opened it up to everybody. During the day, I did adult lessons, which was mostly like retired old people. And after school, I did little kids. And that was because their school got out at 2:30. But I'd never be like, oh, wait, you're actually a kind of age I don't want to teach. The hardest was like you'd sometimes get like tiny babies on the weekend, which that I were actually parents I had to turn away because they would try to come too early. They'd be like, my 6-month-year-old really wants to learn English. I'm like, what? And I'd be like, well, I mean, you gotta like there is certain classes called mommy and me classes, but these would be people who just like, I'm gonna just drop my kid off. And I think they were more so looking for like a cheap daycare rather than an English teacher. And it's just like, no, 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 no. We don't have like a bunch of diapers and stuff here, dude. So I guess there was that limit where I'd be like, okay, 6 months old, you're not really speaking any language yet. Well, maybe you are, but it's very minimal. I think Maki could speak at 3 months old. He used to say some stuff at 3 months old, so it is possible. But it's, you know, um, like Kenny, he didn't speak till way later. So you should let stuff like that come a little more naturally. Don't force stuff on your kids when they're that tiny. All right. I've seen so many people burn out. Yeah. Yeah. One of my close friends in real life, Sonny, Japan archist. After seeing his experience with YouTube, man, it's not easy for Japan vloggers. I know Japan archists. I haven't watched his stuff in a while. Is he still doing videos? I haven't checked his channel in a long time. Did he get burned out? You're in the middle of making dinner, Aaron. I kind of do the same thing, but I usually just I put in like a Bluetooth and then turn on a video and keep making it while I'm watching something. Uh, I think all sometimes doubt ourselves as artists. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Especially when you see somebody who's just like, I don't want to say you're like envious of, but you just see somebody you're like, yo, what? How? How are you drawing something that incredible? Um, and it's also like, I think I always try to like tell people like they put in the time. Like if you haven't put in the time yet, and I'm not saying like you're being lazy, you didn't put in the time. I'm just saying like you haven't been exposed to the craft long enough to have had the vast amount of time this person has. Like, um, I have younger artists all the time be like, how do I like draw like that? And I'm just like, this is like me doing it for 40 years. Like you can't compare yourself to that. Like if you're just 18, fresh into college, you can't compare yourself to like a 40-year-old who's drawn. Like not saying I'm some kind of incredible, highly gifted over the top artist. There's so many more way better than me, but like being able to understand certain aspects or little tricks that make the art go faster or like workarounds and stuff like that. It's like don't compare yourself to that. Comparison is the death of satisfaction. You'll never be satisfied. Just be you and do your style. But even I fell victim to that. I fell victim to that. Part of the reason I stopped making videos for 2 years all the way back, and I want to say it was like around 2000. I want to say like 2018, maybe later than, maybe earlier than that, maybe 2016 or something. I'd have to go back and look at the timeline of my own video release schedule. Um, I was going through a bad time. Like I was like way too stressed out from my company, and so I was lacking any kind of energy to be creative. Like I wasn't drawing, I wasn't making videos. Um, I think I was like barely even playing video games. I was so kind of like just out of it, just depressed, man, just straight up depressed. Um, and when part of me did actually think about going into making videos again, I saw how much the craft had evolved. You have people, like Paolo in Tokyo or whatever his name is. And I'm not like saying these guys are like these guys are great. Like they're really good at Tokyo Lens. Um, just people making stellar, just absolutely knocking it out of the park with the quality of videos they're making. And I just thought, oh, I'm too late now. Now my stuff's like nowhere near this quality. Like it's trash compared to this. I'm just literally I'm a guy who sits in front of a microphone and just blabs, you know. Um, maybe I should just change my channel to Scott Yapperman, um, and just give up on it. And it was my friend Dan who said, yeah, you don't do all that. That's true. Like, but what you do is give a perspective of Japan nobody else does. And that's what people tune in for. And I was like, oh. And that's kind of the way art is too. Like, yeah, you might not be the best artist who's ever existed. Your style may not be the most absolutely dynamic and devastating, you know, hyper realistic illustrations, but you may have a stylized type of art that people want to see. So, like, for example, one of my favorite artists is Ochazuka Nori from Japan. Sadly, he's gone blind from diabetes now, so he's not drawing anymore. Yeah, he has diabetes and went blind. Yeah. Yeah, you got to be pretty bad into diabetes to go blind. Like you got to really your doctor would tell you for like your doctor would be like, "Hey, like you need to like eat healthy or you're going to like you're really far gone at that point." Like that's not common. That's very it's rare that it gets that bad, Maki. Like so for example, grandpa has diabetes, but he's not about to go blind. Because he checks his blood sugar all the time. But if you never check it and you never control your diet, yeah, you can go blind. Anyway, yeah, so Ochazuka Nori's gone blind. What's heartwarming though to hear is his kohai, which is like, you're the senpai and your person who studies under you is the kohai. His kohai, who's a young female manga artist now who's becoming more and more popular all the time, she goes and takes care of him every day at his little flat in the middle of Tokyo. Sadly, he's on government assistance too. Like he doesn't have enough left in savings and stuff to even live a decent life. So, word to the wise: if you want to be a manga artist, don't always expect you're going to become like Junji Ito levels of famous and rich. If you've never read his stuff, it's really incredible. Um, he's got a certain body horror style that he does with his stuff that's just like really, really amazing. And his style is like not like technically, amazing. Like he doesn't do anything where I'm like, damn, I wish I could draw like that. He's just got like the way he portrays the whole idea of body horror is like kind of on another level. Like the ideas he comes up with, the way he draws it, the sort of very tactile and tangible aspects of what you're seeing. It's very, very like I don't know how you would say, like very um it's esoteric in a sense that it's very unique, but it's also very grimy, very like um believable. Like you're like, ooh, that's what that would look like if that happened. Um, so, I give them props for that. That's a really good example of someone who technically isn't like an insane level of artist, but conceptually is like on another, on a whole nother level. All right. Now, I don't know where I could fit a proboscis on this guy. All right. What am I? I'm sorry. I'm going back to try and read everybody's stuff. Um, let's see here. You know what? I'm gonna open up chat down here so I can keep up with it. All right. Let's see. Draz. Oh, Draz is here. You telling me some stories, Draz? Cool, cool, cool. Let me check you said second story. Let me check the first story. Where's your first one? Gaijin. Yo, Unrested. I'm a viewer from like 2014, randomly remembering your channel today. Did you end up leaving Japan? No, I actually live between both countries now. So I'm here in America during the school year in America because I'm a teacher. And then from the summer, I'm back in Japan. My wife's still there. My house is still there. I still own a house there. My eldest son is still out there. And you can see my younger son over here. We are doing education for him in America because he prefers that. And I came over here mostly because the pay is also way better in America now for a teacher. Um, it far trumps what you would get in Japan. So sad but true. Um, but dude, thank you for sticking with me so long, Gaijin. I really appreciate it, man. It's just Gaijin. Your name's just Gaijin. Cool, 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 cool. But yeah, man, thanks for sticking with me. It's always really invigorating to hear when someone's been with me for an extremely long time, and I really appreciate it. All right. All right, we're starting to have this come together now. But you can see my whole process, how I kind of go about doing this. I feel like I need to. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better. That's a little more balanced. So relaxing. One of the best things. It's good that the first thing I tried to draw too, like came out okay where I'm happy with it. The worst is like, and every artist will tell you about this, where you get like artist block. Ugh. You draw it, you're like, oh, it's just a little bit off. I got to start over. You start the next one. Oh, this one's also a little bit off. I got to start over. And you hit so many of them, like you do that so many times that you eventually are just like, okay, I'm done drawing for the day. I can't do it. I don't know why there's days like that where like your mind just can't it can't something's off about the balance of your picture. Every new picture you start, you're just like, damn it. And you even do like warm-ups and everything like that, and you're just like, I'm just not feeling it today. It's definitely got to be comparable to writer's block. All right. There we go. That's good. All right. Let me try to keep up with. You sent me something serious? Oh boy, Striker. All right, give me a second, bud. Um, wait, Striker, where did you send it to? I just checked Discord. You didn't send me anything on there. Let's see. I think okay. What am I? Okay, I read that. Oh, you worked together years before he made his channel. Oh, okay, I was sad when he decided to stop, but I understood. Japan Arcus, he did the one where it was like his Japanese wife explained Star Wars. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Is that the right one? Because that was like the funniest video I'd ever seen. If I'm right about that, let me know. But that was like, if I'm not right, you guys need to watch that. That video is incredibly funny, where his Japanese wife tries to explain like the entire how Anakin became Darth Vader. I like small channels though. It depends on the person, but community is important. Connecting. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. There's a lot of channels. There's channels I watch, but there's very few I comment on. The only ones I really comment on are smaller channels because it's just kind of like, you know, no offense to like the bigger YouTubers, but it's just like, what's the point, right? Like you're just gonna get lost. It sounds nuts, but I actually enjoyed teaching kids more than adults. Oh, me too. I totally like teaching kids way more than adults. Um, there's some frustrating aspects of teaching adults where, especially ones who want to tell you how to teach a language they don't speak. That's always fun. We're like, no, that's not how you say it. And I'm like, oh, how do you say it? They're like, it's not baby stroller, it's pram. And you're like, well, actually, pram is the word used in Australian Queen's English. We have HML English in America, and baby stroller is actually a word used. There are actually different words for the same thing. I know that sounds crazy. Or like you'd have someone be like, no, you spelled color wrong. It's got a U. And you're like, okay, so there is HML American English. There's also Queen's and Oxford's English in the UK. So, you know, they're different. It's and then don't even get me started with grammar. With little kids, you never get into like grammar rules. You're just mostly teaching them vocabulary, but like trying to explain grammar rules, whatever, dude. I can't even get it properly explained to my students now who speak English natively. So trying to explain it to an adult who's speaking it as a second language. Um, yeah. Or trying to explain like, okay, like I know your entire sentence can go together, like run together in Japanese, hiragana or katakana or kanji, but you can't do that like in English. Like you need to leave space. Otherwise, it just looks like you like threw up the alphabet. All right, let's see what else we got here. Gonna have to go eat soon. All right, go eat, non-winner. We want you to make sure you're well fed. Sometimes my friends here in Indiana, sorry, no one knows Japan. It's nice to find friends online that have similar interests and experiences. Yeah, yeah, Aaron, I totally understand that. Um, I pretty much, I almost never talk to people like at work or anything like that, or just like neighbors here because I think either number one, I'm probably boring them to death talking about Japan, or it's just such a literal foreign concept that they don't even know, like, they don't, uh, they're the some people who ask me, can you speak Japan? I'm just like, you mean Japanese? Never mind, don't worry about it. He got burnt out for the hate stuff. Ah, he got burnt out on the hate. Yeah, I can understand that. We all get hate. Um, and it's sad too because like, um, we get so many more nicer comments than hate comments. Like, I'm sure any YouTuber would tell you, like, you get so many more positive reinforcements and comments that are, nice. And then you get like 3 or 4 hate comments and they stand out to you so much more. It's like your brain um, activates so much more violently over the hate comments. And then you can't get into an argument with a person. Like, you can't feed the trolls, and you can block them, you can hide their comment and stuff like that, but it's just, it just like you don't know how much work I put into this, or you don't know, like, or just like people who want to tell you stuff that objectively is wrong. Like, you're just like, someone who's like never been to Japan and they want to tell you about how Japan is, and you're just like, you have you ever been here? And they're like, no, but I've heard. You're like, okay. All right, and there's no point in me trying to argue with you. I know it's personal, but I want to know how much your channel makes in a month. Fine if you don't want to say. I make about $280 on a decent month if I'm doing you know, an average of 2,000 views a video. I make about $280. That's about it. Um, I might make a little bit more, or like, okay, so like next month, January pays the worst of any month, so I probably make under $200. I'll probably only make like 150 or something like that, because there's not as many ads. Now for December, I'm about to get paid for December and January. You always get paid from the month before. I'll be close to $300 because the ads are way higher and they pay a lot more. And they show up a lot more often because December is the month of advertising, of course. But I'm looking for my lowest months of like $100 to $150. My best months are like $300 if I've like done a couple videos that knock it out of the park. Like for example, this month, um, shockingly, the one about the comedian who got canceled will probably hand me over a pretty big chunk of change. Or like the 1 month where I did what happened to Canada Jin. That video is still getting crazy views to this day. I'm kind of shocked at how well that one did. Also about like the history of eat your kimchi. That video tends to still be alive and doing well. I need to get some hydration. I need to also get something to eat. I'm probably going to cut out for a little bit here. Oy, 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 oy. Just give me a second here, guys. Oh, actually, I could do this. Sorry if I'm cutting in and out. Recently, my Bluetooth, when I get over here, it starts to cut in and out. I already made myself dinner tonight, so, and the reason I ate before stream this time is because I knew I couldn't be touching, I had Philly cheesesteaks is what I made for us. And you can't be touching that as you're trying to also draw because you'll just make a greasy mess of your paper. Uh-oh. What happened? Oh, there we go. All right, while I'm eating some stuff, let me try to catch up with comments a little bit. I'm way behind. Have you ever tried mayo in your black eyed peas? You should try it. I've never tried that. You also had artist block making Spectre Killer. I had to restart the project 10 to 20 times. I understand that though. Bryce, hi sweetie. I frequented the same circles. I met Victor Nagoya, but I didn't remember it until I found him on YouTube. Oh, okay. Now you told me a little bit about hanging out with Victor. Oh, okay. First off, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, Draz. I need to play that game you gifted me on stream. Best wishes to you and your family. May it be filled with love, success, and more love. Thank you, Draz. Is really nice. Second, funny story. You and me have the same story of how we met, but with different timelines as Victor. Did the same actions twice. He arm wrestled you. Whoa, really? That's crazy. Why is that? I didn't know. Is that something he does all the time? I didn't even know that about Victor. Nagi-san. All right, I'll have to check out Nagi-san. Aaron, did Victor make you arm wrestle him too? What, even girls? Even when he meets girls, he's like, "You gotta arm wrestle me first before we're friends." What? Mongolian Deathworm. That's a band, right? I've heard that before. Mongolian Deathworm. Not to toot my own horn, but I can draw that stylized S everybody used to draw in the 90s. Damn, Bryce. Oh, okay, okay. So I am talking about the right guy with Japan Archist, where he did his wife explaining the rise of Darth Vader. Dude, it is like the funniest video. I think it's just called like My Japanese Wife Explains um, Star Wars 1 to 3 saga. It was so good, dude. I look like Satyr from Satyricon. Wait, what type of student? Hold on. Uh, Educated. I don't know. Sometimes let's say I saw a poster in Japan. Anthony. That's pretty funny. Uh, what's the type of artist you? I mean, what's the type of artist? What's the type of student that you can't stand? Oh, you're talking about the type that tries to correct your English while you're teaching them English? Yeah. I used to have parents do that too for like their kids. Like my kid is really into science. So, and it's like you have like a whole class of kids. And they're like, so could you do more science words for the class? It's like, um, okay, so first of all, your kid is in a class of 25. So he's not the ringleader of the class, nor does he dictate my lessons. There's actually a book already chosen by the school that we have to follow. So no, I can't give your kid like personalized lessons. If you want to hire me as a part-time one-on-one tutor for your kid, you can do that. But I'm not going to change the entire class's lesson because your kid likes science. You're like, what the hell are you talking about? Um, or that like I had parents who would ask me like, when you have time, can you take my kid aside and like really work on his pronunciation a lot more? And it's like, what? What are you talking when I have time? Like we work a full 8 hours, we get like a half-hour lunch, then we, go right back to work. What do you mean? So like stay after for my job and like take your kid aside? Like what the hell are you talking about? What do you never understood stuff? For the most part, I mean, Japanese parents are pretty reasonable. And most of my adult students are like just happy to like chat and have a good time. I had one guy who was like, um, he was really into like uh, dancing and like jazz music and stuff like that. But when he was like my age, he was like 60 when I was teaching him. But when he was like more my age, like he listened to like a lot of like death metal and black metal and like hardcore and stuff. So we'd always talk about that. It was like really interesting to see this like older gentleman talk about music I used to be really into back when I was like high schooler and stuff like that. Um, so I mean that was like it was fun. It just felt like talking to a friend every time I had a lesson with him. Um, let's see. Um, one of the most annoying ones I ever had, the worst student I ever had. God, there's two. Um, it was one guy who he lived in my apartment complex, and he'd be like, "Oh, you are English teacher?" And I'm like, "Yep." And he was like, "I would like to schedule a lesson with you." And I'm like, "All right, well, I have my own school, so like, here's my card. Go ahead and call me." And he called and he's like, "Ah, I see your lesson. I forget how much I charged at the time. I think it was like I was really cheap. Like I think I was only sansen per lesson, which is like crazy cheap for that time. Like the average lesson, you'd be really lucky to get a one-on-one lesson for Rokusan for like $60, and I charged 30. And he'd be like, I see your 1 hour lesson is $30. I would like to have a half-hour lesson for $15. And I'd be like, all right, I mean, that's up to you, man. You want to do that, you can, Um, and then it would get close to the day that he had scheduled his lessons, and he'd be like, Scato Sensei, I know you said that your lessons are $15 per half hour, but I am not a wealthy man, and I would like to ask if it is possible for me to just pay $10 for that half hour. And I'd be like, no, dude, no. I said, like, I'm already doing you a favor by giving you a half-hour lesson that nobody gets. Like, no, you know, I'm like, I have to put aside time to get ready for that. That's what I'm not paid for. Um, and then I have to take time to prepare for the next student coming in. So I'm not going to like do all that specially for you, but then also do it for even less than I do it for every other student. I said, I'm already the cheapest person in this area. I know that for a fact. If you can find someone cheaper than me, you show me that and I'll compete with them. But until you do, you'll pay my prices or you just won't be a student. He was like really shocked. Like he was really like, what the hell? Um, he's like, but you don't understand. Like I'm very poor. And like he lived in my apartment complex, right? My apartment complex isn't for poor people. And I'm not saying that to like sound like a total asshole, but my wife and I were able to afford it because I was a teacher and she's a dentist. And everybody who lived on our floor too was either like a doctor or a lawyer or something. Like we lived in a pretty decent place. He lived on a couple floors up where there was the smaller apartments, but they weren't that much smaller. It wasn't like some sort of capsule hotel we lived in. So if he's living there, he's got some kind of money to be able to live there. And actually, he didn't know this. Because I never said anything about this, but my wife knew one of his relatives, and the reason she knew them was because she had gone to school with them when they were in middle school. No, I'm sorry, elementary school. And the person she had gone to school with, who was his brother, had actually had some kind of mental break and ended up at the hospital that her family owns, which is like a psychiatric hospital. And she was like, he could um, they took good care of the brother who had this break because their dad, the person who's the head of the family, was like also a really well-known doctor in the area and could like, easily afford him the best care and stuff like that. And he was pretty much like from a silver spoon. Now, what he had done, he had just decided to become a taxi driver, which is it's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that job. But I'm guessing most of his bills and everything were paid by his dad because he was living in a really nice place. Um, I know he had a gym membership at the gym I went to, and that place wasn't cheap either. It was like $100 a month to go to that gym. Um, and then he wanted to like just keep nickel and diming me down more and more and more and more. And like he'd keep calling me back to like, and then like when he couldn't get the lesson for his price, then he would call me back and like ask me English questions. And that would piss me off, dude. He'd be like, hi, Scott Sensei, I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm trying to write this sentence right now. And can you tell me if this grammar is correct? And he'd read the sentence and I'd be like, well, go ahead and bring it into like one of your first lessons and we'll correct it together. And he'd be like, yes, yes, I would love to do that. But can you please just help me to know where the comma goes into this sentence that I'm writing? And I'm like, sorry, man, I'd have to see it in person in a lesson. Bye. Like eventually I had to block him. Like he would still keep calling me and act like, it's, what the fuck, man? Um, and I had another guy who was really weird. Um, I was a really weird guy. I was walking to my job one day, and my backpack was slightly open, and my change of shoes, because you bring a change of shoes to go to work, was slightly starting to fall out of the back of my backpack. And that guy found it and picked it up. And he spoke a little bit of English, and he was like, "Oh, sir, you've almost dropped your shoe." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it." And he was like, um, are you also an English teacher? I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's like, oh, I'd like to schedule a lesson. So um, we did it. We scheduled a lesson. Um, he was also, once again, one of these guys who's like really catchy. Like when I say catchy, that just means like stingy or like frugal to a point of being like obsessive. Um, he was like, "Do you offer a trial lesson?" And I'm like, "Yeah, half price for a trial lesson. $15 for a half hour trial lesson." I didn't normally do that. I just made like, um, you come in, you take a lesson, you see if you like it, and if you don't have to. I don't have any contracts. I never made anybody sign contracts, which was also a really good deal. Um, And if you don't know what I mean, like almost every business in Japan, any English school like Iowa or anything like that, locks their students into like 6-month contracts. Like you're lucky if you can find a 3-month contract. Most of them lock you into 6 to a year. Um, and that's how they make a ton of money. I never did that. Um, so I'm like, sure, yeah, man, that's fine. Come on in for a trial lesson. So he does it. Like he takes the trial lesson and he brought like an egg timer to the trial lesson and like started it up and he's like, okay, the lesson begins now. And I'm like, okay, fucking weirdo, whatever. um I've got my own watch on my hand, I can look at, you stupid ass. um so I go for a perfect half hour and I'm like, all right, time's up. And he was like, but can you explain this? What would be the Japanese word for this? Like how what I don't we were looking at something, I forget, and I forget even what the word was. It was like first time starting, or my first time ever trying the hajimete. And he was like, "Oh, sensei, your Japanese very bad. My ears, itai, itai." And I'm just like, "What the fuck?" And like, I'm like, "Okay, sorry, man. I know my Japanese isn't really great." And I was just like, what the fucking asshole? Like, what if I did that to my students? I was like, listen, man, your English, shit, total shit. In fact, it's painful to have to listen to your English. Your accent is so bad. Like, can you imagine saying that to a student? Like, you'd run them out of the school, right? You're like, And that's what this guy did when he asked me to explain something like the Japanese equivalent. I don't know what the power move was on that. I don't know. Anyway, I remember I just said, yeah, I know, my Japanese isn't great. That's why I'm an English teacher, not a Japanese teacher. He's like, "Oh, haha, American joke. I get it. Yeah." Um, and then he schedules the next lesson, and in between the next lesson, he didn't argue me on the price. He didn't try to like be like, "Oh, I want it even cheaper." He wasn't like that guy. But in between the two lessons, he kept like calling me and asking me personal shit, and I'm just like, "What the fuck? What are you doing?" Like, "Oh, sensei, sorry to bother you. What is your favorite magazine?" And I was just like, is this like are you getting ready for a lesson? Is this like part of your lesson questions or something? And he's like, no, I'm just wondering like what do Gaijin read for magazines? And I'm just like, I don't read magazines, dude. Like, I haven't bought a magazine since like 2001. The fuck are you talking about? Huh? Um, and he must have called me like 3 times in 2 days. It was something like that. He called me again. He's like, during the lesson, you said this is what I'm talking about, where someone says like you use you in the letter color. Or, what, are you shocked by these stories? um, even my son's like, what the hell? Like, what a freak. Um, it was one of these situations where he like called me. He's like, you said the word color in our last lesson, and you forgot to put a U in there. And I'm like, that's because it's a British spelling. He's like, yes, but aren't they the same language? They're both English. And I'm like, yeah, but there's different dialects, just like there is in like Osaka and Kanto, like uh there's actually two different types of English. Like I'm like, anyway, like listen, I'll explain this in our next lesson. Please ask me these questions at the lesson. And then he called me one more time, like in the next 48 hours. He's like, "Oh, Sensei, what is your favorite Japanese movie star?" And at that point, like my wife looked at me like, Is it that guy again? Tell him you're done. And I said, hey, listen, bud, listen up. Don't ever call me again. Your next lesson is canceled. You're not my student. And he was like, what have I said? And, I'm just like, look, I don't take personal calls like this. This is you talking to me in English and like usurping my time. I didn't use the word usurper, but, and like, I didn't want to put up with it. I was just like, well, you're done. You're not a student of mine anymore. Get out of here. And that's two of the worst. Huh? Say again? Mm-hmm. You just not understand how? Mm-hmm. They won't let you do it? Can you write to support or something? No. Mm. That sucks. Anyway, I don't know. Riveting stories, maybe, maybe not. But yeah, talking. What about you, Jason? You got any good like super ultra annoying worst student ever stories? I want to teach everyone. We all need to get relearned. Dang it, I just flipped down too far. If you get to my final statement, I have already left. See you, Scott. Oh, okay, Striker. Sorry, man. I love you all. We love you too, Dubman. Bodica is another name for Victor. Oh, okay. Next time you're in Nagoya, you got to arm wrestle him. Yeah, definitely do it. When we met, you told me about the story. He heard it and wanted to wrestle you again, and then me. So when you were talking about how we met, I was like, yeah, and then wait, that's different. That's so crazy. I didn't know that about Victor. I'm gonna like put him up to that. Every time I meet him from now on, like every single time we hang out, I'm gonna arm wrestle him. I'm just gonna make it like I'll be like, hey, what's up? You don't want to shake my hand first? No, no, no. We're going straight to arm wrestle. Let's go. Back for a couple moments while I cook dinner. All right, cool, Jonah. Milk drinkers. And then I took an arrow to the knee. Oh God. I looked it up. There's a death thrash band called Mongolian Death Worm. Yeah, that's what I thought. Alien Worm Enslavement. Wow, best song ever. Deco Chow. My sweet baby. Love you all. Scott Sensei, bye. See you, Dub Man. Thank you for hanging out, dude. It's always nice to have you around. Scott, they were obviously wealthy because they were saving $50 per English lesson. That's what it is, dude. That's how they accumulated their wealth. Yeah, he was trying to rip you off for sure. Like, I found out later, like he would always been like a pretty weird dude because my wife told me about his family and like she said like they're all like really weird in his family. Like, um, it was something like his dad had been like a doctor and then eventually like stopped showing up to his own business and then like barricaded his house and like they had to send like psychologist people to go talk to him and he chilled out and then finally went back to work and all kinds of weird stuff. Probably, I don't know, like a bunch of issues going on. I don't know. I mean, this is not like a young dude or anything. This guy was like 50. Yes. Yes. What? No. I missed you too, sweet boy. Mm, you're always so lovely. Once I had an older Japanese salaryman student, he would make the lesson last super long, like 2.5 to 3 hours. However, each lesson, he also took me out to very expensive restaurants. I got to eat super expensive food and even sushi in a way that I never experienced, and he paid me 150 yen per lesson. Wow. Ichiman Gosen per lesson. Damn. That's really good, man. Especially what, like back in 2007, weren't you there? Like back in 2000, like that'd be an incredibly good rate back in 2007. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we all have like sort of our weird. Yeah, see, like that's the thing. Some of the adult students were so interesting. that like I almost felt bad for charging. Like some of them are so fun and like my one friend, I say my one friend, I mean pretty much think of him as a friend, but he was like into like jazz dancing and all of this stuff and um he was an accountant. Like his job was boring as hell. He was just like an accountant, but like his like taste in music and art and everything like that was like really broad, and he like knew everything, like any western thing he was interested in, like he actually knew quite a bit about it, so we could have like long conversations. It was great. Yes, what's wrong? Mm. Uh-oh, there we go. Why are you so lovey-dovey right now? I don't even have any food. You know that, right? I don't even have any food. You can't even try and hope I drop something. You're just here for the actual, for real, genuine love. Oh, sweet boy. He's like, all right, you don't seem to have any food. Peace out. Um, it's going down. A radical anarchist Antifa mag or Jacobin, a Marxist mag. Uh, I should have been like, I should. I don't know anything but like some BDSM magazine or something like that. They'd be like, oh, oh, um, or maybe even worse, they'd be like, oh, like, uh-oh. Um, yeah. I don't know. It sucked. That's what you kind of open yourself up to when you do like private lessons and stuff. For the most part, students are wonderful. They're a delight to talk to. Um, you know, I've had a few who like remained long-term friends even after. I've had some who are like friends of my wife and stuff like that, and um, I've had nothing but good things to say about them, and they've had nothing but good things to say about my lessons. Um, but man, oh man. Every once in a while, someone hits the weirdo button and they walk on into your lesson. You're just like, oh my god. Uh, all right, what else do we got going on? You choked on your chicken? Oh, I thought first, the first time I read that, Grumpy, I thought it said you choked on your chicken drink, and I'm like, is she drinking chicken juice? That doesn't sound very nice. Who's your favorite movie star? Like, what the? Get the hell out of here. But yeah. The other annoying thing is if you ever have to work with an ALT teacher, well, they're not actually ALT. They're like a licensed, professional English teacher for a middle school or an elementary school, and then they'll like try to correct your English sometimes because they'd always have The Crown. The book they'd use is called The Crown, and of course that's Oxford English. And so when I'd say something like, "No, actually, you're wrong. Here, look, in Oxford English, it says this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know that's Oxford. Like, Oxford English is not American, right?" You're like, "What do you mean? You guys both speak the same thing." It's just like, how do you not understand the concept of dialects? Like, I did think it was funny though that like sometimes, um, if I ever had like an Irish friend or especially like a Scottish or Welsh friend, um, come up and start to talk to me about something, and then the Japanese person with me would be like, "What language were they just speaking?" And I'd be like, "It's still English." And they'd be like, "No, that definitely didn't sound like English." It's like, "Oh no, don't say that." That cracked me up. right. What am I gonna do here for this? Yeah, 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 yeah. I gotta start to close this out and figure out where I'm going with this drawing. I want to put pinchers on it, but the pinchers would have to like overlap the sort of hand like opening. Not sure what to do with that. Maybe. What could I do there? All right, I want to get like a tiny bit. There we go. There we go. All right. What could I do for? Could I add clippers onto here? Yeah, maybe I can actually. Yeah, it doesn't actually look too bad. Okay. All right, so we'll switch it. We'll say the clippers are actually on the tail. Or pinchers or whatever you want to call them. Let's see. I feel like I'm kind of motivated to add a bunch of like bioluminescence dots all over it. I think I can probably do that. Damn. Okay. I'll get this. I'll get this. All right, I think that works. Yeah, it actually worked okay. I'm kind of shocked that worked. Uh-oh. What happened? Someone's messaging me on Steam. JT. Didn't we go? All right. Sorry, JT, you didn't get the car of your dreams. All right, all right. To foreigners and interested in talking to you and foreign language. What is it? Yeah, I always loved the older Japanese students. I respect that after all they have seen in their lives, they still open enough to and such an amazing kind spirit. Oh yeah. I think like old ladies, for the most part, every old lady I ever taught was like the nicest old lady ever. And they were like so humble about some of the amazing stories they had and stuff like that. I had one I taught one time, and she had been something like 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old during World War II. And she had a story about how she saw an American like fighter pilot flying overhead and like shooting stuff in the distance, and that the plane flew low enough that he could see her. Um, and they actually stopped shooting and like looked super sad. And she said like that's when I knew like Americans really didn't hate us or something. It was like a really amazing story. I was just like, Jesus, what a story or something like. And I've had other stories like that from like really old, like super old people who came and took the lessons, and I just be like, wow, that's like so like inspiring, and like your like wisdom having been developed over all these years can teach me so much. uh, it really is true. You should just like shut up and listen to your elders. Elders have like some stuff to teach you that you're just like, I've never observed life in that way because I haven't lived long enough to experience that much. Um, yeah, there's a few I taught. Jeez, those places have to start from the ground up. Like, okay, wait, I'm missing some stuff here. We would go. Oh wow, I missed a bunch. Holy cow, you guys have been typing a bunch. And those people are always good. I had two students while living in Japan that did similar things. Two older ladies just wanted to chill and talk. Yeah, like I said, older ladies, dude. Like super, super old ladies who'd come in and like, yeah, they had like so many good stories to tell or like gossip about their neighborhood or something like that. It was always great. And they never cared about, actually one thing I have to say, um, and this isn't, I didn't actually run into this student back when I taught my own school, but I remember back when I used to teach at Nova, and you'd have like so many students. They just like toss like a million students at you. You'd get like four at a time. And one piece of credit that I really have to give the old lady students I had is that if you made a correction to their English, um, gosh, it would be like something small, like a really small correction. Like I'd be like, all right, write a sentence about this. And very easy mistake to make using the wrong type of there, THERE and THEIR. And like, I'd be like, oh, hey, this is like a really good sentence. Just like when you do this, you're doing like the possessive there. So you have to change it to this type. And they'd be like, oh, okay, thank you. And then if I ever got like an old man who was like a doctor or a lawyer, um, if I ever corrected them, they would stop talking for the rest of the lesson and just look like pissed off. Like not every single one, but they it was amazing. Like the old ladies would start to like they not only would they listen, say thank you, and then like correct their English in the future, um, but the complete opposite would happen with like older men who had like high paying jobs. Like they could not believe they had just been corrected, and it would leave them boiling for the rest of the lesson. I just be like, Jesus Christ, just calm down. You're here to learn, not be perfect. Like, what are you so fucking pissed off about, dude? Just chill. Uh, let's see, what else am I missing here? Uh, yeah, dates, but he was married and he never made me feel like he was coming out. Yeah. Since a host, then we all take turns teaching who helps the students. He just wanted to relax and enjoy practicing his English with the pretty girl. Nothing wrong with that, right? I can't criticize that. Yeah, I don't see the problem. I mean, I definitely had students who were doing the same thing, like older female students who just be like, let's go out to like the izakaya. And I'd be like, oh, all right, whatever. And they would tell me like all about their married life and stuff like this. My husband and I are like brother and sister. It's more of a business situation that it is love. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Why are you telling me all this? I mean, I wouldn't say that, but just like, oh, all right, all right. Um, I wouldn't have gone if he. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the ones that make you feel uncomfortable, you just cut it off. Yeah, I definitely had one student one time where she like would constantly like. I've talked about this story before, where she'd like try to follow me to my train and then like try to like ask to hang out after and be like, no, dude, get out of here. I'm married. Dropping off myself as well as kids be wanting to play. Great tagging along for the chat, even in the comments. Aaron's story's good. Yeah, Aaron's got some good ones, right? Thanks for coming by, Dre. Really appreciate it whenever you're by. Uh, broth. Aaron, those people are always good. I had two students while living in two older ladies. Yeah, older ladies. We would go shopping and they'd practice their English that way, or they'd guide me explaining everything in English to practice. Oh, that sounds really fun, Draz. I'd definitely do that. That sounds like a fun lesson. Would you ever be interested in getting models made of the? Yeah, Grumpy. Yeah, that's like a dream of mine. I would absolutely be stoked to be able to do that. Wow, you got like a 3D printer? You can help me with that? Seriously, I would be like super excited. And those students always pay in cash, just saying. Yeah, they do always pay in cash. You're right. And Grumpy, I'd be willing to throw money at it if you're able to do that. I really would like to be able to do that. People don't realize how drawing takes years to develop, and plus, people change styles and which also takes time to develop. Yeah, and, yeah, people develop styles, and I think like people also don't. Sometimes people are like, I want to learn how to draw this and this, and why can't you just show me that? And it's like, yeah, but that's never been like my strength. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if someone wants to like draw me cars, like I've never cared about drawing cars. I definitely would have to look at a picture of any car someone asked me to draw. And like I think especially like a lot of young boys are always like shocked. They're like, "You can't draw a Ferrari?" And it's like, I have no interest in Ferraris whatsoever. I'll never own one. I'll never want to own one. I don't look at pictures of them very often. I know what a Ferrari is because it's famous. That's about it. Like, yeah, I mean, my thing is like fantasy monsters and, TTRPG type of stuff and things. So like I will say like a lot of younger boys in my school, the elementary and like younger middle school kids are always like, "You can't draw cars." I'm like, "I can draw them, just not off the top of my head. Not interested." I'm teaching literacy in Ghana, and education here isn't great. It's happened a couple times, Guyana, where people will totally screw up spelling or grammar, and they'll be like, "The British and American conventions are different," when it has nothing to do with that. Oh boy. Yeah, I had a teacher do that one time where I think it was, you know how you have like fourth or like fifth, and she had written it for RTH, and I'm like, oh, you just only put the TH, and she's like, no, 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 in the British way, they add the R too when it comes to fours, and I'm like, no, you're just making stuff up to screw with me. Like, what are you talking about? And she was like an older lady too. She must have been like 60 plus and had been teaching for ages, and her English was like pretty good. Like she could speak pretty decent, but she had to be right. Like she's one of those people who's like, no, I'm 100% sure. I'm just like, oh, okay, all right. You know what? Doesn't matter. I'm not about to change the world here. You spell it that way. Go ahead. Um, yeah, but those places have to start from the ground up like all the time. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. I've always loved the older Japanese. Yeah, we just talked about that. But with that said, a dude built a car out of scrap metal. So who knows? Oh, I've seen that one before. Um, uh-oh, I just went down too fast. Uh, oof. Let's see here too. Everyone is like an oyster. You got to know how to shuck them. I don't know if I would use. Remember, students, everybody, you just have to learn how to shuck them. They'd be like, "What, Mr. Ackerman? What are you talking about, Mr. Ackerman?" Hey, Sushi Sunshine, what's up? Haven't seen you in a while. Glad to see you around again. So many Japanese people are so damn kind, and it's awesome. Yeah, like 90, I'd say 98% of all my Japanese encounters are like sweet, polite, wonderful. Like, of course, though, the worst situations always stick out in your mind the most, right? Or your mind's like, oh my God, what the hell? I met a lot of old witches, and they need to keep their hands to themselves. Really? I've never had that happen in Japan where people are like too touchy-feely. Um, Good evening, Tim. What's up, dude? Sorry, I've been busy playing with my new 12.9-inch. Oh, sweet. That's the size and everything I have too. Glad to hear you're enjoying it, Tim. That's awesome that you got that, dude. I'll bet you're drawing some sick stuff right now. Let's see here. Uh, okay, it looks like my mouse is fully charged over there. Let's see what else we got. I downed 5 liters of orange juice. I feel invincible. Yeah, bro. I think doctors say like as soon as you hit the 5 liter limit, like you are pretty much invincible. Like the amount of vitamin C in your body makes you impenetrable to bullets. So, low poly, go save the world, bud. You've got this. I'm behind you. I know from experience. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Dub, man. That you had to deal with people who did stuff like that. I had the opposite story when I entered a hat store in Nagoya. She did not like me. There are no hats for you in here. What? What the fuck? Um, I think the rudest I ever had, and I guess I can kind of forgive it because it was a kid, but it was a kid with her, like, I was waiting in line at IKEA or something like that, and she said, "Why does that man have like tattoos on or like drawings on his arm?" And her mom said something like, "It's tattoos," and she said, "That's disgusting." And I just turned around and like gave her a look like, "Yo, you serious right now? You're not gonna like say anything to your kid about that?" And the mom just looked like mortified, so I just thought like, okay. And she didn't say it in a way that was like, "Ew, yucky," like not like that. I was just like, disgusting. And I'm just like, wow, way to raise your kids there. Um, there's no hats for you. You should have tried to put on as many hats as you could until they kicked you out of the store. Um, do you know trolls and goblins are the same thing? Wait, but goblins are uh more closer to, like, doesn't their kin come from, no, that's kobolds. Well, I don't know. I was like, oh, okay. All right. I have just now been watching my Korean import. Um, I don't know what that is. I was watching the Korean dub, and as you would imagine, it's Japanese characters speaking Korean out of sync with their mouths. Ah, yeah, those experiences are really few and far between. Have I ever had someone be like that at a store where they were like rude as? Hmm, I'm trying to think now. If my wife is with me, she'll like straight up talk shit right back to them. Like she gets pissed. Like she will not take it at all. Um, so I really appreciate that about her. I've had other times too where like somebody tries to bully my wife, and then when I show up, like they about piss themselves. Um, for example, like she's waiting on the train, and like my kids were like when they were really tiny, like maybe they're too loud, like jumping around or crying or something like that. And there's always like maybe like an oyaji or like I don't know, some like pissed off salaryman or something who's like, ah, it is Sai, it is Sai. And then like I'll go to meet her as the train gets there, and like you can see they're about to say something like, make your kids be quiet, and then they see me pick her up. They're like, oh fuck, like not that I'm like super cool, awesome, intimidating, massive dude, but at 5'11", and usually they're like between 5'7" or shorter, and that I'm tattooed and everything. They're just like, oh fuck, that's your husband? What the fuck? I had one time, and I did nothing. I did nothing to try and be intimidating. Um, I my wife like um she returned a video to Sutaya, and like you have the Dropbox. Um, you have a Dropbox, right? And like she returned it, and she got a letter in the mail that said, "You haven't returned this video, um, and you're like this amount of money late." And she's like, "No way, I returned that." And like, so she went to the store right away because she didn't want this like giant like debt on the back of her hands. And I forget exactly how it happened. Like they were like, "Hey, you know, um, we got there. Oh, we got there, and they had found the video because she called and said, "No, I already returned that one." And they're like, How did you return it?" And she's like, I put it in the Dropbox like 5 days ago." And they're like, "All right, well, we've just checked it anyway. We did not see it there." And she's just like, "I don't know what to tell you. I put it in there." When we got there, they had found the video, and it's like we didn't show up with the video, so obviously it was there. And she's like, "Okay, well, if you just found it, like, isn't the 5-day fee like off now?" Um, And they're like, um, how do we know you didn't just go in there and drop it off after we called you? And she's like, I don't know. Do you got cameras? And she's like, so she called me over, like, she's like, oh, let me ask my husband like what time of the day I returned it. So she called me on my phone. I was in the store with her, but she called me on my phone because it's one of those stores that was like 3 or 4 stories tall. She's like, Scott, can you come down here and like let's try to remember like when we returned this because you were with me when we did. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. And I got down there, and as I'm walking up, she's like, they're still going to charge me 5 days because they said I could have put it in there any time. And even though I put it in the box like 5 days ago, and I guess probably what had happened is like you have that drop box. I'm sure it's possible for stuff to get like stuck or like they do a swipe and they don't find it or something like that. There's probably like hundreds and hundreds of DVDs in those drop boxes. Um, and I laughed. I just started to laugh because like I thought that was like a really funny situation. I was like, "Oh, what? Are you serious?" Like, and the guy like turned like pale and was just like, "No, never mind. You know what? No, there's no fee. I'm sorry." And she's like, "Wow, his mood changed really fast." And I was like, "What did I say something? Did I do something?" And she's like, "I don't know. When you walked up, he suddenly like didn't want to charge me the fee anymore." So that's always kind of funny to like run into a situation like that where they're like, "Uh-oh, unpredictable gaijin, don't know how he's going to react to this charge. I'll just take it off." And she's like, "Well, really? What do you think I was going to do? Like flip the store shelves over or something like that? Like what the heck is going on?" Um, that's always I like that kind of funny thing happening in Japan. It's what I call innocent racism. Innocent racism. Um, I was looking at Steam Decks today, and man, woo, I might need a whole new computer for that price. But I'm interested. Really? Wait, how much did I pay for mine? I mean, you are paying for convenience. I mean, that's kind of like, they're shoving everything into a little thing you can carry everywhere. Um, God, how much did I pay? Damn, I can't remember. All I can say is I'm really, really happy with it. Like, my Steam Deck is definitely like one of the best things I've ever bought as far as like video games, consoles, computers. Um, I had a choice. My wife gave me a choice for my birthday. She's like, you can either get a new laptop or you can get the Steam Deck. And I was like, I guess I'll get the Steam Deck. I was really happy I chose the Steam Deck. Like I still use it like all the time, more than I probably even play games on my laptop anymore. You have high quality scans of your art, preferably in character sheet, front and back. I have several printers from mini making to full terrain. Whoa, really? Dude. Okay, so I have to draw like kind of like a rotation of the character. All right. Okay. Does it need to be drawn like in digital art? Like in like Procreate or like Adobe or something like that? No, unfortunately I do not. I am just really interested in purchasing from small creators. Oh. Wait, so Grumpy, do you have like a custom figure you want drawn that you'd like to print out? I'd be more than happy to do that. I wouldn't even ask for payment. I'd say like all I'd ask for is make me a copy of the character too and send it to me. Like I'll do the drawing for free if I just get a copy of what I made in a 3D form. What was that? What? Why does Alexa do that every once in a while? I don't get it. Um, oh wait, what happened here? You were telling a story here. This was one time I had a really rude. I told her that I wasn't leaving. She left and didn't bother me again. I actually felt bad about it, but I was like, I'm not Yakuza. I'm not bothering anyone. No, just no. Yeah, it's a stupid rule. Wait. So wait, what was the rule? Wait, what was it? What did you get? Oh, I was washing off before I got into the bath. I always covered my small tattoos with a towel. Just a small butterfly on my hip, a couple inches, and a small flower, a couple inches. And I always covered them. But oh wait. So it started earlier. I also had a nasty story at an onsen because I have 3 small tattoos. That I was this was one time that I was really rude. I told her that I wasn't leaving. She left and didn't bother me again. I actually felt bad about it. Was she someone who worked at the actual onsen, Aaron? Or was it just like a stupid customer? It was just like, this is my onsen. You don't come to my onsen. Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, I've heard, there was a story when I was there that like, they kicked out a Maori woman from an onsen for her tattoos, and it's just like that's part of like their family. Like, that's so mean. She's just like, this is like my heritage, like tattooed on my body. Like, it actually has like, family meaning to them that is like super traditional. It's like, I don't know, kicking out a Jewish person because they're wearing a yarmulke or something like that. It's just like, yo, you serious? Like, that's part of like family tradition, or like, I don't know. There's really, I don't know. After the Olympics, like Japan pretty much got rid of all the laws that say you can't have tattoos in the onsen for gaijin. That when the 2020 Olympics were coming, they're like, guys, you need to cut the shit on tattoos, not letting people do stuff. They're like, it's 2024, I mean, it's 2020 now. Like, everybody knows the world has tattoos except for Japan. Like, you guys need to get with it. And they chilled out quite a bit after that. The only time I've ever had any trouble for tattoos in the onsen was the last time I was actually in Japan over the last summer. Um, as soon as we got there, there's a big sign on the door. It pretty much said like, if you have tattoos, you are not allowed to use this onsen, especially if you have like gang affiliation and stuff like that. And we got in there right away, and because I was like, Aya, you didn't check if I wasn't allowed to go here? And she's like, I wouldn't worry about it. Probably not going to say anything. So we went in there. I'm already got all my tattoos out. It's summertime, so I'm not going to be like wearing long sleeves in summer on a vacation. Um, and I get in there, and they're like, oh, you can see already, like, they're kind of like, shit, what are we going to say? So they told her, they're like, can you guys wait till 8 o'clock to go to the onsen? That's when like customers from outside the hotel they're not allowed to come anymore, and it's only people staying at the hotel who can use the onsen. So I was just like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. But I thought like, well, what the fuck? I'm paying the same as everybody else. Like, why, you know? And their website didn't have anything on it when we booked the trip. Like, it never said anything on their website like, oh, you can't have tattoos. It didn't say that till you got there, and then it was on their door. I just want to use it in Blender and make 3D so it can be printed. Okay. Wait, so Draz, you're gonna make a 3D printed character if I draw it for you? I paid, carry me out if you want. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, there's no such thing. I always say this, like, why anybody would think you're Yakuza? There's no such thing as a white Yakuza. Like, you know what I mean? All Yakuza are mostly either Japanese or Korean, or mixed Japanese Korean. Maybe there's some that are like Chinese Japanese. I have no idea, but they would probably be more connected to the triads if they were. But there's no such thing as a white Yakuza. Um, I always that always kind of like blows my mind that they're like, oh, how do we know you're not Yakuza? It's like, have you ever seen a white guy be part of the Yakuza? Because I don't think that's ever been recorded yet, and I don't think the police have arrested a single white guy Yakuza. So that's how you know. Um, I mean, plus to get into Japan, like you have to have a clean criminal record. So I don't know how they think we get away with that. Even with tattoo rules gone, the majority of onsen outside Tokyo still adhere to it. Really? Oh, you sent me a Steam message. Oh, here you are. Oh, this is the way I need to do it. Ah, Got you, got you, got you, got you. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna save this picture. Open image in new window. Save image as desktop. All right. Okay, it's a JPEG. 3D piece for printing. Dude, Draz, if you do this, man, I'll be so stoked. Like, this has been a dream of mine for like a long time. I've seen one guy do this, name Monster Garden. That's the name of his YouTube channel, and it looked awesome. He made this. He had this concept. It was the coolest concept ever. Like he made his own like super dark, grimdark like fantasy world. He still used like the traditional fantasy races like dwarf and elf and everything like that, but he redid all of them to be like a grimdark version. And he made the dwarves like giant sort of like husky worm people because they burrow underground, like the dwarves like to mine and everything. So he made them like half worm, half dwarf looking, and he had it printed. It looked amazing. Like, and I could tell he was super excited about it. I was like, oh my God, I want to do that one day. That's incredible. All right. Cool. Thank you, Draz, dude. This is like gonna be awesome. I'm gonna really take my time on this though, because if it's gonna get printed, and I kind of know some stuff about resin, or like you don't want to make it like too skinny or too thin or like overly detailed where it can like break apart when popping it out of its resin whatever thingy. So I'll make sure to adhere to those rules. All right. Okay. Yeah, dude. Dude, Yakuza in Japan with tattoos, according to Japanese Metropolis, 0.07 of the population. They stopped getting tattoos about 35 years ago. Yeah, I mean, plus just in general, I mean, the Yakuza are like, they're a dying breed. Like, the new criminals in Japan they're all like tech-based criminals and stuff like that. Or they do like the hiring somebody in a newspaper type crimes, where they'll hire random people to finish out different parts of the crime to complete a full crime. But yeah, like the Yakuza, I mean, they're pretty much like broken up into like such small splinter groups that probably within the next 10 to 20 years, there'll be almost nothing. They're really, really, really dying out. What? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't know you were trying to get on. Go ahead. I was like twisting the chair back and forth, and he was trying to jump up here. Go ahead. Yay! Visit from Deco Town. You need to revise rules. Yeah, you need to revise rules. Now, what you've just talked about there, Aaron, is the thing that will continue to be the downfall of Japan, is revising rules. Something that Japan is super, super, super stubborn about. Like, that is going to be the death of Japan, is the fact that like it takes them ages to revise a rule. It takes them like so long, where you're just like, dude, this has been going on for so long, and you're suffering from it because of this rule. It's probably time to get rid of that rule and become modern. But Japan, man, it really fights it tooth and nail. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, my big fluffy puffy. Outdated rules, yeah. Cute cat, yeah. Deco is the cutest chunky boy. What is like some of the rules? I'm trying to think now. Like, there's some there that I'm just like, dude, are you like you're gonna end up like never evolving. Let's see. What are some of the rules that I'm just like, oh God. Um, well, there would be ones where like I'd have like neighborhoods that would want to get like their parks removed because children were still being allowed around like anywhere from 5 to 6 p.m. And it was like waking up old people who went to bed super early. And so they would like petition to get the park removed, but then also be like, why is nobody having kids anymore? Why is there no like young kids in our neighborhood? Like, you petitioned to get rid of the park. Like, what are you talking about? Like, or this is probably the biggest one that I think is really going to knock out Japan. They don't have enough kindergartens. Like, they don't have enough. I don't want to say aftercare. It's not aftercare. Like daycare, like Hoikuen and Yochien. There's not enough of them. So like mothers can't go work like a full-time career because there's just never enough places to put kids. And so they end up having to make a choice of like, do I end my lifetime career to become a housewife, or um, do I struggle to pay some like ultra expensive private kindergarten that's like miles away from my house? Or could the government possibly make enough kindergartens to be able to give daycare to the kids who need it so families can easily drop them off, earn more money, have bigger families, et cetera, et cetera? They just never do it. Like they never, just like, oh yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem. All right. So are you doing it? Like, are you going to change anything? Like even finding a kindergarten, I should say a daycare for our own kids, it was like a struggle. Um, we had to like pay for a private one because the public one, they were like, oh, you earn too much money to be able to use the public one. It's like, well, we'll pay for it, of course. Like usually what they have is an adjusted cap so that like, okay, show us your monthly income. All right, you pay this much, and the rest is subsidized by the government. But they would just like, nah, like you're so far out of the range that not only can you not be subsidized, or like we can't charge you enough, you just can't use this because you guys make enough money that you could easily afford a private daycare. And it's like, so we're being forced into finding a private daycare. So then we found one, and even then, like we had to wait for an opening at a private daycare, and it was just like, no wonder nobody has kids. This is such a huge hassle. And then on top of it, daycare's not cheap. It's expensive. And you're just like, well, so why would anybody do that? Why would anybody have a kid who couldn't possibly afford either of these? Like, what do they do? Just end their career? And they're still, I think they have, okay, yeah, the other big rule I'd say that's gonna like kill Japan, or like, if they just don't fix this, things are gonna be more and more ruined, is finishing an 8-hour workday. Like, I don't get it. Like, how do they not ever enforce the 8-hour workday, right? Like, um, in America, we do have auditors who come in and check times and stuff like that. Like they check to make sure people aren't working off the clock and putting in a lot of extra hours and stuff like that. But there's just nothing like that. There's no government, I guess, department that checks on that. So, for example, Shinzo Abe tried to do some campaign about like all work ends at 5:30, no matter what the job is. Like no more like plus 8-hour days. Like it needs to cut off. And there were some businesses who kind of did it, like slightly for a couple weeks after he announced that rule, but none of it was enforced. Like nobody actually checked or enforced it. So they just went right back to like 12-hour days and stuff again. And it's totally like that again now. There's like nobody working just only 8 hours. Like everybody works insanely long hours. And like you're probably thinking too, like it's like, oh well, salarymen, they're like, married to the job pretty much. But I had friends who worked part-time, and it was insane. I'd be like, how many hours you work this week? They're like, 4 hours today and then 4 hours tomorrow. And I'd be like, oh, so you get off like around this time because it ends at 4 hours? And he's like, no, actually, usually my manager keeps making me stay to like clean up the back warehouse like for another hour or two. And I'm like, so you work 6 hours. And they're like, yeah, sometimes 6, sometimes 8. I'm like, but you're part-time. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, but you only get paid for 4 hours? Yeah. And I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? A part-time job makes you do that even? It just, I just be like, what, dude, I would, for a part-time job that pays absolute shit, and they don't even pay like full national healthcare benefits either. So like they're getting screwed both ways. They work the hours of someone who would have 70% of their healthcare paid for, but because it's unofficial off the clock, they don't get any of the benefits of that. And unless there's some kind of regulation eventually, something that can check or pinpoint businesses doing that. For example, Uniqlo, if you don't know, Uniqlo is like brutally, brutally abusive to its employees. They're known as a black company, and it's a black company. It's like Baraka Company, and that's because they abuse the hell out of them. Apparently, there's like tons of bullying, like tons of like way, way, way over the 8 hour mark. Where like I've heard stories of like people, they have to fold a lot of clothes there, of course, but like the business will be like, all right, it's your first day, make this whole pile perfect. And the person will fold it, they do as good as they can because they've just started the job. And the manager would come over and just like knock everything off the table and be like, now try again, and they just sit there and have to do it again while staying like a bunch of extra hours to refold it, and just like, you need to learn the proper way, and until you do, you're staying here. And like that's just like that's a typical story. Like there's businesses who do that all the time, like not a big deal, and they never get no kind of repercussions for that. And until like Japan grabs that by the horns, like they're screwed as far as like the population recovering, the economy recovering, mental health becoming less of a problem. Whoa, you okay? What's wrong? What's a weird head shake thing? You all right? But yeah, that's another way where I've seen. Hmm. Anyway, I love Japan too. It makes me sad, honestly. Like this isn't me trying to diss Japan, be like, Japan sucks, guys. You don't ever want to live there. This is me loving Japan and hating how its people get treated. That's what I hate. I hate to see Japanese people treated this way. Like, okay, so like you and I were both saying, the average Japanese person, 98% is like super nice, super polite, super helpful, super kind-hearted, and that gets abused to no end by, and they call it black companies, where it's just like they'll just abuse it and be like, oh, are you sure you're loyal to the company? Stay an extra hours and show us that. Or like the stupid thing where it's like, you guys don't leave till the boss leaves, and the boss, like, he literally has like a living quarters at the job, so he like never fucking leaves, and they're stuck there like all night. um I've actually heard, and this is a kind of a conspiracy theory, that the reason Japan shuts down the trains at midnight is so that bosses couldn't make their employees stay past midnight. That's one of the reasons that the trains shut down is at midnight. Which, if that's really true, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Like midnight? What? And you see it, man. You see these salarymen get on that train and they look tired as hell. Um, I remember one job I worked. There was an assistant English teacher, and she would ask me every once in a while. She'd be like, "Hey," like it would just be me and her only working there because it's a super tiny little school, like where it was only us two. She'd be like, "Hey, can I ask you a favor?" And I'd be like, "What?" She'd be like, um, can I go home like early and check on my husband?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure. Is everything okay?" And she'd be like, "Yeah, like I don't have PTO, like I don't have paid time off, and like um I can't ask my manager of this school or she'll be super pissed off, but like he's so depressed, like he hasn't gone to work recently, and like the last few weeks, like he's had a real problem getting out of bed and stuff like that." And I'm like, "Gee, what's going on?" She's like, he's just tired of work. Like he can't do another 12-hour day." And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, man. I'm like, okay, he can't quit. Like I was new to Japan. I was like only 2 years in Japan. I'm like, can you get another job or quit? And she's like, you don't do that in Japan. You don't start a new career when you're like 40 or 50 years old. And I was just like, what the fuck? So she'd be like, is it okay if I just like sneak out of here real quick? I'll be like, yeah, go home. Jesus. I'd always let her leave anytime early. Like it wasn't all the time. It'd be like one or two times a month where he'd just like fall into like such a dark depression that he like couldn't. She'd be like, I just want to make sure he didn't do anything like because he said like he apparently he had to go to like rehab for depression or something like that and had like self-harmed or almost taken his own life before. And it's just like Jesus Christ, man. Like companies pushing a guy that hard. And I was like, what isn't like and she's like, he can't get another job because he's the breadwinner, and we wouldn't have enough to like raise our kids or own our house if he suddenly quit. And you can't start a new career path when you're 40 or 50. You're just locked into that place. And you're just like, fuck, dude. How hopeless does that sound? And until Japan does something to fix stuff like that, they're just, I mean, the train is full steam ahead into the ground. Like, Mitch Sanson, thanks for your stream yesterday about the isolation in Japan. Yeah, no problem, Mitch. Um, yeah, it's definitely, a real thing. I think, sorry, I got this thing blocking. Sorry, Deco. Sorry, I wanted to see. Um, you bid thee good night. Yeah, we all fall asleep on the train. I don't know what it is about the train. I feel like they pump sleeping gas into those things. It was so easy to fall asleep on the train. Yeah, I'm actually crazy tired right now too. I'm actually gonna log off in just a bit. I think I started at like 4 o'clock or something today. This guy fell asleep. Oh, and for I've also heard Draz. I've also heard that like the taxi the taxi guys and like the train guys have like a deal so that they can get like a lot more money after midnight. Out as well as Japan is waking up, so time to call the missus. Oh, I didn't know you had a is it a girlfriend or a wife in Japan? I didn't even know that, Draz. Congrats on that, man. Oh, well, I don't know. You might have been going out for a long time. I don't know. It's the truth though. Yeah, they do seem to up their prices a bit. Up their prices on what? I'm gonna head off. All right, Sushi, have a good one, man. Um, anyway, yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna log off too. I actually want to finish up this art, and it's actually really hard. I got to figure out a better way to be able to chat and draw at the same time. Um, but it was fun. Um, I need to ink this up though, and man, always great talking to you guys. Girlfriend, hopefully somewhere in the summer, popping the quid. Dude, awesome. I'm happy to hear it, man. I'm happy for you, Draz, dude. I'm sure she's gonna say yes. In her mind, she's already said yes. She's just waiting for you to pop the question, Draz. That's awesome, dude. I'm happy for you, bro. Um, anyway, guys, yeah, I think me too. I'm gonna log off. Um, I'm feeling it really bad tonight. I'm feeling tired more than usual tonight. I think my sleep's been messed up all this week, so it's probably really catching up to me. Um, but anyway, awesome talk.